Hi everyone, this is another episode of On.NET. I'm Bertrand, Kendra is with me today.
Hello.
And Rich is behind the switchboard here. And today we are re-recording what we did, when was it, yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't so good, was it?
No.
So sorry
there
for
were
the
a couple hiccups.
Yeah, sorry for the people who watched it live. So we decided to, redo the demos so that we have something that is easier to watch and follow and understand and reproduce.
Totally.
Yeah, so the first thing we wanted to talk about is the stuff that we shipped beginning of this week and that you can download and use. And maybe Rich can tell us all about that.
Sure. So we shipped Visual Studio 2017 RC updates. That was the broad umbrella. Here, to take this off. And within that, we shipped a bunch of .NET features. So we shipped a new update of .NET Core tools. And the big improvement there was simplified CSProj file format. And
we're going to show that.
And we're going to show that. And there was one other thing that's escaping me for the moment. And then we also shipped an update to .NET Native. So .NET Native 1.6 shipped in RC. And you can actually build and ship new applications built with that technology into the Windows Store. And last, NuGet now supports package reference for pretty much all .NET projects, and we'll demo that as well.
Yeah, and that's a question that we are getting quite a lot is, okay, so those improvements to MS Build, are we going to be able to take advantage of them in other project types? So it is already the case for package reference, but eventually all the other goodness of the new CSProj will be available for eventually, right?
Right. Well, the package reference thing you can
Yes.
now use immediately.
Yes.
But you're saying, yeah, there's more with MS Build that that people will be able to use. So the answer is yes. That's definitely the intention.
Yeah. That's what I had to say.
Okay. Should we move on to demos?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's good. Do you want to demo mine first? So the first demo that we went over yesterday was the ASP.NET framework app using 4.6.2, and we wanted to Dockerize that. So if you want to switch to my computer, I have just a basic web application pulled up. This is a web forms. So the Docker tools for Visual Studio 2017 RC are really, really simple. You just go to your Solution Explorer and right-click on your project, go down to Add, and click Docker Project Support. And it automatically generates your Docker file right there, which is extremely helpful. It also optimizes some of the build contacts, etc., for you automatically. Usually Dockerizing an app is really simple. All you need to do is add a Docker file, but what's helpful is it fills in what we need to add in it. So this is pulling from the Microsoft /ASP.NET image. This is based on the Microsoft /Windows Server Core image. That's about 4 gigs, just so you know. So it pulls that from Docker Hub the first time that you're starting this up. I already have one up on my machine, pulled on my machine. So all you need to do is you pull that once. It's about 4 gigs, and you can run as many containers off of that image as you want, which is really nice, especially when you compare it with the process that would be more lengthy using virtual machines.
Right, so yeah, so it's a relatively large image because it's Windows Server.
Yeah, it's Windows Server Core with the full framework on it.
Right, so there are other options that are less costly in terms of size, but this is still useful in comparison to the same thing running on a VM.
Yes, this would be our lift and shift scenario for really easily getting full framework apps up. I feel like we actually demo the ASP.NET Core or the Core images a lot more, and those are on very small, either nano server images or Linux images. But this is a full framework, so that's really cool. And as you can see up at the top, there's a new arrow right next to your regular debug arrow. It's the Docker debug project. Actually, let me build this before we run it in Docker. Oh, that's right, sorry. It's the same bug I was running into earlier today. Our templates are a little bit off right now.
That's because there was an update today.
That
right?
is because there's an update today, and I think I'm still on an internal build of Visual Studio 2017 RC, so slightly different.
Hopefully people won't
There
have
we
to do
go.
that.
Hopefully
right?
people won't actually have to change this little version number and add a
Yeah,
0.1 beside it in all of their YML files. But even if you have to, it's not that hard. And there's a good comment on, if I had Googled that bug, then it immediately comes up what I needed to do.
I think you meant YAML.
YAML.
I heard YAML.
Oh, I thought you said YML.
I did.
Oh.
But Bertrand heard YAML, so I'm good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just know how the cool kids say it.
Oh.
Well, don't ask me.
Yeah. So this.
Okay, so what's
container-
happening
yeah.
here?
Well, first it actually goes through, it's nice that you can see it here. Each step that it runs through is actually the command line argument
Right.
from your Docker file.
Mhm.
So first it made sure I had Microsoft/ASP.NET image on my machine, and if I
Mhm.
did have it, then it didn't have to pull it again. And then you define some of your arguments, and then you set your work directory, and you copy your project's files into a directory on the container.
Mm.
And you can see all of that running down here.
So now it's basically booting it.
Yes.
Right, so we need to build, package, and launch. Is that fair?
What would the package step be?
The Dockerizing.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And there
There
it
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So if we press F5 again, is it faster or the same?
I think it'll be a lot faster.
It is
Much faster. And that will work even if you're like making changes to your application. Like, say I change this. Oh wait, no. Let's change it in the default. Let's make this say in a container. Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's
So to summarize, this is ASP.NET 4.
web forms using
Right,
the full
it's-
framework
yes, web
4.6.2.
Web forms.
Yeah.
In a Docker container.
Yes.
Cool.
Spinning up in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
In a completely fresh environment too.
So you use this term lift and shift. Can you talk a little bit more about what that means?
Yeah, I guess that's the minimal effort that we can get our customers to start using Docker or the cloud and start thinking about different deployment systems and modernizing their pre-existing applications, trying to make it easy for them. So that's our lift it up and shift it into a cloud.
Right. So if your app was just that web forms template, obviously that's a super minimal example.
Mm-hmm.
How much work and you had been using that in say VS 2015, and you moved to VS 2017. How much work would you have to do to that app in order to lift and shift it to using Docker containers?
Very little. It was
That's what you just
Yeah.
did,
yeah,
right?
you
That's it.
right click,
Yeah.
add Docker support. It creates a really simple Docker file, and you pull that image. Might be a 4 gig image, but
So really minutes.
Yeah, minutes. For
Nice.
sure. Did you want to do the next demo, the .NET Core demo, or was I Dockerizing the .NET Core and then we were going to talk about the CSProj?
Yeah, we can go either way.
Okay, I'll Dockerize a .NET Core app.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Cool. Stop that running. Okay, so actually so I have the basic web template, I guess. When you run .NET new -t web, this brings up your ASP.NET Core web template. So I could run it just so you guys know it looks about the same. So this is it running locally on my machine. Okay, looks good. So to Dockerize this app, it's really simple. I added a Docker file, just some basic arguments in here, copying the output, providing an entry point since the .NET Core app does need an entry point specified for the container. And then you run it with some really simple commands.
Right, that's because .NET Core apps always run with .NET. That's just the normal way to run them.
Yeah, so you need to specify the entry point. So you see it's running through each of the steps in my Docker file.
So we talked about the size of the other one, which was
Yes.
for Windows Server. This one is Nano Server,
Yep.
and it's going to be much, much smaller.
Yes, this one's running on Nano Server. I think, let's see, when we first pulled it down, I think it said it was 80 megabytes.
80 megs, yeah.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
So quite a bit smaller.
The other thing we should talk about is the difference between Docker build and Docker run. So right now we're doing Docker build, I believe, and that's taking some amount of time.
Well, it's done now.
Right, but
Okay.
we might want to
Just
explain
finished.
for the people at home the difference between those two things.
Well,
Yeah.
one difference is that you won't do that every time you need to run your app, so...
Yeah, that's true. So I just did Docker build, that's right. Now I'm going to do the Docker run command, specify the ports, and tell it what image I just made I want it to run on. And to get the IP address directly of the container, right now you just want to run docker ps, which lists out the running containers, and you want to copy in that port ID into a command that'll get that container ID IP address, copy that container IP address, and paste it into your browser. And we're working on optimizing that whole flow so it's a lot faster. There you go.
Yeah.
So now we have a .NET Core, ASP.NET Core app running in a container using the Nano Server image.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Right, and we can Docker run that again.
Yeah, absolutely. Same image.
Right.
Yeah.
So are we going to look at the CSProj now?
Sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
So let's switch. Thank you. Okay, so these are the bits that shipped this week, right? So I'm in Visual Studio 2017, sorry, RC, and I'm going to create a new project, and I'm just going to create a console app. So this is the same thing, obviously, as doing .NET New from the command line. There you go, console app. And instead of having a project.json like you used to with previous versions of the tooling, this time I'm getting CSProj instead. So if I go to my Solution Explorer here, I can, so previously in Visual Studio with other project types, you would have to unload the project and then edit the file. Now with this version of the tooling, you can just edit the project file directly. And as you can see, this is really small. There is almost nothing here. But let's still look at what we have and explain it. So the first thing we have is a new SDK attribute on the project tag. And this is specifying what the SDK is that we're going to use on that project. So here it's just the Microsoft.NET SDK, which is the .NET Core toolset here. Then we need to specify what the output type is. So if this was a library, I wouldn't have actually that tag. It would not be here. So here it's just saying that the output of this is going to be an executable application.
So library is the default then, basically?
Yep. And then the target framework. So here I'm targeting the latest stable, but I could do, 1.1 and be on current. And that's it. I don't have any packages referenced here, and the reason for that is that when I'm targeting the .NET SDK and the .NET Core App 1.0, I'm actually implicitly getting a lot of things. I'm getting implicitly all the packages that go with it. So I don't even have to specify the packages that you had to specify before with Project.json. We should probably also look at a web application. So what I'm going to do is that same solution, I'm just going to add a new project, and this time I'm going to pick an ASP.NET application. So web, ASP.NET Core web application, .NET Core, and here the project file is going to be. I'm just going to choose the empty one, or should I choose the same that you used that has some contents?
Well, I used web form, I guess.
No, well.
Oh, I see, the core,
yeah.
Core one I did. Yeah, I think it's a web application.
Yeah, let's choose web application. This way
That's
we see something,
yeah.
we see something that's closer to a real application.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at the project here, and same thing, I can right-click, if I can right-click, okay. I can right-click on the project node, and I can do edit web application 1.csproj directly without having to unload it or anything. And here we can see that, yeah, sure, it's a little bigger. We do have some package references here because we're actually getting the ASP.NET Core bits and packages in addition to the .NET Core app. Still a .NET Core app. The SDK is the web SDK here this time. Hey Rich, do you know why we are not getting why we are not specifying the tool? Is this just a random difference?
That's a bug.
I never noticed that.
That's a bug.
It's a bug, okay.
That should not be there.
Right, it will work if I remove it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You should actually talk to the team and
yeah, I will do that.
Gone. So with the SDK web reference, do you think like Razor compilation comes with that and not with the other one? Is that the way to think about it?
I'm not 100% sure, but that makes total sense.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yes. Okay, yeah, so I have a number of packages here that are going to be useful to build my application. I have MVC, Some of those you may not even need in your application, so you might actually want to remove. I don't know if you don't have any static files in your application. That can happen. You could remove that. So as you know, if you've been using ASP.NET Core, it's very modular, and you really get to build your request pipeline yourself and pick and choose which parts you want and which parts you don't want, and that's also reflected in the packages you include, of course. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Probably don't need to run that. I mean, it's just the default template. I get the same results that you got from the Docker container. So.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool.
So we're going to do the .NET Native demo.
Who's doing that?
Oh, right.
Yes.
Do you want to walk us through it?
Yes.
Oh,
switching
great.
machines. Okay, I'll talk to it. So things we shipped is native 1.6 RC. And so just to recap, we use .NET Native to create .NET UWP applications for Windows 10. And in Visual Studio 2015, we had shipped 1.4 as comparison, so there's a new version. The big change with this version is, in addition to new functionality coming with 1.6, the way you acquire the new version of .NET Native has changed. So that's the thing we're going to see Kendra show us, is the entire .NET Native toolchain and all the bits you need now come from NuGet. So by default, Visual Studio 2017 comes actually with .NET Native 1.4, just like Visual Studio 2015 did, and you can upgrade yourself to 1.6 using NuGet. So how about we look at Kendra's machine, and yeah, so now you see the NuGet package there. So let's just kind of show them the context menu, Kendra. So you would have right-clicked on the References node and selected Manage NuGet References. And then you would get the screen that we see here. You can see that by default, the project is using, is it 5.2.3? Is that, I can't actually read it from here.
It's 5.2.2.
5.2.2? So that actually, this project by default is using .NET Native 1.4, like I said. And now can you show upgrading to 5.3? Well, did you change it? Okay, is that what it said? I actually can't read what
Yeah,
it says.
the latest stable was listed as 5.3.0,
Okay.
and I clicked the update button.
Perfect. Old man eyes. And so, yeah, so now this project, at least very shortly, will have been upgraded to .NET Native 1.6, and you'll be able to do .NET Native 1.6 development, and you'll be good to go. Yep, so we're upgraded. Obviously, you only have to download those bits one time. Yeah, that's the story. So if you look on the blog, you'll see a really cool Mandelbrot set calculation. There's a before and after of the performance increase. That only applies to people who are using SIMD, but it's a really nice performance increase, and there are a bunch of smaller performance increases and bug fixes throughout, so we recommend that people move to 1.6. We actually had a small issue when the blog post was first put out, that people actually couldn't, they were getting error messages when they uploaded their new 1.6 apps to the store. As of today, that's been resolved. So thanks for the folks that reported that. That was a bit of an oops. Okay, what else do we want to talk about? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, I was trying to bring the fractal
yeah.
thing.
It does look very cool.
Yeah, you should be able to do that still.
I'm looking for it. Yeah, it is.
Now we'll have to switch machines one more time.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
true.
of course. Oh, there it is.
That's okay.
Yay.
Sorry.
Yeah, it really brings the point to home. I'm actually just seeing a blue screen.
You are?
That's what we had before.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, but I can't see it sadly. If Kendra wants to bring it up, her machine was working.
Yeah, I was just.
Really, you can see it?
No, I cannot. How about while she's doing that, maybe you can talk about your spiel for next week?
Yes, so next week's going to be interesting. We have our regular show next week. We are going to have Phil Hack on the show, and I'm quite happy about that. Phil is always a fun guy. He works for GitHub. He used to work for ASP.NET. He was the PM for ASP.NET MVP.
MVC.
MVC. Where was I? Yeah, so we are going to have Phil, but that's not the only thing we are going to record next week. We are also going to have a couple of additional interviews, personalities from the community, because next week is the 15th anniversary of .NET, and it is the 20th anniversary of Visual Studio, if you can believe that. 20 years. That's
Wow.
It's a large number of years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're going to have some celebrations. So on .NET is going to celebrate the anniversary, and we're going to have other places. There's going to be videos on Channel 9 and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah.
Awesome.
How long have you been using .NET, Rich?
I started using it definitely in the 1.0 time frame before it shipped.
Yeah.
What I can't say which like beta or RC it was, but I definitely remember. So this would have been in like 2001 or something,
Yes.
sometime around there. And I remember the Visual Studio and .NET team was trying to ship. This should seem familiar to us, and they had gotten all the way up to RC7. And
so nothing's new under the sun.
So they gotten all the way up to RC7, and back then we were like we all had 10 megabit to our desks, and so the way you would get new builds isn't through the network. So I remember, or maybe we did that too, but I remember you could get like a stack of DVDs to take home. With like, or maybe it was in CDs.
Maybe you should tell people what DVDs are.
Yeah, but I remember you could go to your admin and get the RC7 to install it at home to try it out.
Nice.
But I remember having a meeting where someone who had learned .NET came to come talk to us, and they were explaining, the CLR and the framework, and they're explaining C# and IL, and I remember this one super funny situation where most of the people in the room were thinking C# looked pretty good, and then one person put up their hand and said, "Oh, that IL thing, that's probably the language that I would write."
Oh.
I mean, even back then, I knew that this person completely missed the point. Like, it's not. It's like I don't think anyone handwrites IL. Like some people.
Well, some people do.
Yeah, very small number. I mean, I guess it's the assembler to C++ kind of argument, but there's very few people who write kind of line of business applications who would ever write.
Line of business, I would tend to agree.
IL. Like I know when we talk to our friends at Stack Overflow, they actually do write IL for to optimize some of their scenarios. So we definitely do know what happens. But that's my funny little story, and I'm pretty sure that person did not actually write IL.
Yeah.
Well, I have that Mandelbrot .NET Native update rendering
Do you want to
that we
refresh?
shared on our blog.
Yeah. Do you want to refresh the screen so we kind of start from nothing?
Yeah.
Well, it's looping anyway, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's looping.
And it's pretty clear that the one
This
on
one's
top is
fast,
faster.
This one's not.
Yeah, so the one on the bottom, I think, takes, is it 64 seconds?
It's over.
Yeah,
it's a minute
it just
and 4.
restarted.
Yeah.
And the other one takes 1.9 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that don't quite grasp what's going on, the one up top is using SIMD registers, and the one down below is using regular CPU logic and registers. So SIMD is good for, you know, matrix multiplication and things like that. So that's why we're seeing a massive performance.
So this is not the first time you can use SIMD in .NET, to be clear. This
No.
is what's new here is on native.
Yes. So there actually is some differences between .NET Native and what the JIT runtime does. So they both have advantages and disadvantages. So .NET Native, currently it supports 128-bit registers because that is the min bar for the minimum requirement for Windows 10 machines. Mm. So many of the machines will actually have SIMD 256-bit registers, but we haven't done the work to enable us to light up on 256-bit registers, whereas the JIT runtime can actually do that at runtime. Mm. So the JIT runtime can be faster currently. The place where .NET Native is better is it actually, because we're using the UTC compiler, it actually does auto-vectorization, which means that if you have code that you've written that can be vectorized, the compiler can do that for you, so you don't actually necessarily need to use the system.numerics.vector library necessarily to get this experience, whereas with the JIT runtime you do.
I see.
So that's a big difference.
How good is it at detecting those optimizations? Because
well,
not everything works,
yeah,
right?
So we could ask Jim Radigan. Yeah. I've actually watched some of his Channel 9 talks on auto-vectorization when I'm feeling lonely at night. That's what I do. And he would be able to tell us the ins and outs. I'm definitely not capable of that.
Okay.
Oh.
Well,
there you go.
Anything else?
No, I mean, I think the only thing to say is that we're continuing to try to polish our .NET Core tooling. That's a major focus of the team, and that's what we're doing now, and we're working to get Visual Studio 2017 RTM up to quality. Mm-hmm.
So the preview label is gone, but we are not done with all the work.
Right, and we're super focused and doing good work. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think
all right.
Wow.
Yeah, that was much better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll see everyone next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.